the last 2 days of joint practice for the Houston Texans. For CJ Stroud, a bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah.
What did you see?
Yeah, I mean, mixed bag for sure. They were flashy. I just tweeted it out like on Saturday. What I want to see is consistency, a clean operation, because throughout joint practices there were flashes, but you can't rely on flashes in the NFL.
Right.
That's how you fizzle out. There are plays where he would extend, make a play, and there are other instances where you would see CJ hold the ball, either get sacked, check down, or throw an incompletion. Right. Like, there were moments where him and Dalton were connecting, right? Or moments where him and Tank were connecting, and moments where him and Nico had a connection or two, right? But again, moments, not a long duration of consistency in that aspect, right? So what you want to see on Saturday, because again, it's going to be vanilla. It's not that Vic Fangio is going to throw a whole bunch of exotic blitzes and exotic fronts and exotic coverages at him. It's going to be very vanilla. Is for him to trust what he sees and gets the ball out. Make sure his eyes are where they need to be pre-snap, and make sure they go where they need to go post-snap. I know that can sound a little tricky, but pre-snap, sometimes if your eyes are where they're supposed to be pre-snap, then they'll be where they need to be post-snap. Now, if they're not where they're supposed to be pre-snap, then post-snap, it can look like a complete fire tire, So that's all I truly want to see on Saturday, is for him to just have a clean operation.
That's exactly what I was saying. And you almost echoed exactly where I'm at. It's not about flashiness. Get the ball out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if it's a check down, if it's throwing it away, especially with what we think is likely going to be an offensive line that's just as shaky as it was on Thursday.
Yeah.
Like, that's, I think, the evolution from game 1 to game 2 is not trying to run like 10 yards away from defensive linemen. They're going to catch you.
Right.
It's make the smart, more of a veteran kind of play. He's a rookie.
Yeah, exactly. And he is a rookie, and I think we have to always preface that. I had someone ask me in my Twitter DMs, like, when should I be concerned about CJ Stroud? I'm like, why would you even be concerned? Like, it's way too early to even.
I'm with you.
And I'm like, I said, you should be concerned year 2, like week 6 or 8, if like things look shaky. Because year 2 is when they're supposed to take like a substantial leap to the point where they look like a competent NFL quarterback. Mm-hmm. And then you wonder, okay, now can they take that next leap into that good, very good to great range, right? I ain't going to say take a leap into the elite status, because again, like, that's just, when you draft a quarterback that high, you're not trying to get an elite all-time great quarterback. You're trying to get a guy that can compete with the best of the best in the game at that point, and he doesn't have to be elite to do that. Some guys, their A game can match a Patrick Mahomes or match a Josh Allen or match a Joe Burrow. It's just that they're not as consistent throughout the season of being able to have that A+ performance week in and week out, where a guy like Mahomes can. Like, that's why he's the standard, right? He can do that every single week, right? But you just want a guy that can, at his best, develop into a guy that can possibly, you have the hope that, oh yeah, he can match the best of the best quarterbacks throw for throw. And obviously with CJ, he's a rookie, so you want him to develop into that, but he might not get to that till like year 3, maybe year 4, and that's okay, right? We don't need to rush his development and need to be the finished product right now,
We're very reactionary now. I posted on my YouTube channel a video from yesterday's show, and it was about how, hey, CJ's been struggling. It's been a mixed bag at these joint practices. Part of that's probably the offensive line. Part of that's the receivers. But part of it's him too. Yeah. And a lot of people are like, oh my God, the sky is falling. And I don't know when we got to this point where we're so, I guess, spoiled into believing that we're going to see these young quarterbacks do stuff right away.
I think obviously you had Dak, that his rookie year in 2016. I think that's when the tide started to change, where you saw rookie quarterbacks hit the ground running and playing at a very high level.
It's a small sample size, though. With Dak, Russell Wilson, right. and those two were completely unexpected.
And they were on really, 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 really good teams, Yes. So, and I also think, like, what really threw it all out of whack was when Josh Rosen got traded after his rookie year. That's what really threw it all out of whack.
And that's a bad organization. Remember the report cards, how many Fs the Cardinals got?
Right, exactly. So, like, I think that's was when people were like, oh, if the guy doesn't look like the guy you can move off after year 1. Like, people were talking about moving off of Tua after year 1. People were talking about moving off Jalen Hurts after year 1 and year 2. You know what I'm saying? So, like, we got to sometimes take a deep breath and let these guys develop at their pace, because, again, playing quarterback in the National Football League, because I think everybody always forget, like, a lot of these guys, if you go in the first round, like high in the first round, you're most likely, obviously Burrow and Herbert were exceptions, but you're usually going to be like 21, 22. Like Lamar was like 21 when he came in the league. I think Kyler was like 21. Like Zach was like 21. These guys Trevor, 21, going on to 22. Anthony Richardson just got drafted. I think he just turned 22. Like, hey, Matt, remember yourself at the age of 21, 22, 23.
I don't want to, because I don't.
And then being in charge of being a face of a billion-dollar organization.
Yeah.
Like, that is a hard job physically and mentally. Because I think a lot of...
You can watch the Johnny Manziel documentary.
Exactly. Yeah, you watch that documentary, you understand why he failed. It wasn't because of talent. Like, Johnny could make all the throws. He had the athleticism.
He was just going from having all the fun in the world to being an adult.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you have to legitimately be an adult. Like I know Colin Cowherd has some crazy takes with quarterbacks, but I think the one that's aged the best is your quarterback has to be an adult, right? Like his questions for guys like Jameis Winston, guys like Baker Mayfield, even to a lesser extent Cam. He was wrong on Cam, but I could understand where he was coming from. It's because you are the face of an entire organization, and so many people's jobs rely on you being able to do your job, right?
100%.
Because if the quarterback stinks, there's a chance that the GM gets fired and like the head coach gets fired. What happened in New York with Zach not being good, that's an exception to the rule because they were able to keep their jobs and find a replacement. A lot of guys lose their job if the quarterback doesn't pan out the way that coach needs him to.
We were talking about quarterbacks and the expectations attached to them.
Right.
And obviously there's a lot of expectations on CJ Stroud's shoulders. And obviously we don't have much to go off of comparing him to the other rookie quarterbacks to this point. Like only a couple of series.
Right.
Have you gotten a chance to check out the other quarterbacks?
Yeah, I watched Bryce because I wanted to see how he was going to handle a ferocious pass rush. So obviously the Panthers, they have like their O-line got their tails whooped.
Yeah, he got hit hard twice.
Yeah.
Like really hard. And I don't know how you feel seeing Bryce Young in an NFL uniform. You know it's Bryce Young, but I don't know if it's just the helmet looking big or if it's the fact that like he doesn't have any tats, but he looks like a kicker.
Oh my God.
DJ, it's not
He does not look like a kicker.
He looks like a kicker. He just looks size-wise. Well, you're expecting someone bigger than that.
God. He does not look like a kicker.
He does.
He looks like a wide receiver.
Wide receiver. You see
wide receiver or cornerback.
Okay, I see. It's entirely because
from a size standpoint.
He's not wearing any gloves either. It's partly that, but I'm like, damn. Like it just. We know how good he is. We saw him play at Alabama. Those two hits made me a little happy the Texans won the last game of the year.
I think that's the biggest concern with Bryce is he going to be able to hold up for a duration of time? I mean, I think he does all the quarterback stuff really well, from pocket movement to being able to process on the fly. He has a good enough arm. Like you don't need this rocket arm. Like he can get the job done. We just have to see if like you got to build a team similar to like how the Saints built their team, where like Drew Brees had a really, really good offensive line around him. And obviously, he was a cyborg mentally. So, like, that worked together. And then with Anthony Richardson, like, you saw all the talent and things of that nature. But he threw a pick. But, again, you saw the flashes of why he was taking that high. So, I think, again, like, it's preseason. I try not to overanalyze preseason because, again, when I rewatched, CJ's game, like, Bobby wasn't even calling things he was going to call in regular season action because again, there's so many routes that were mirrored. Like if there was like on the first play, actually, both sides ran like on the outside receiver ran an out route, and then the inside receiver was a tight end or the slot ran a hook route, like not a hook route, but like a hitch, right, or like an option route, right? And it was on both sides, so CJ's got to pick a side and let it fly in that aspect, and you'll see that throughout preseason because like. They don't want to give away anything. So, and I understand that. So that's why I try not to take much from preseason.
A text in on the most interactive sports talk show in Houston from the 409, and it's about CJ Stroud. Okay. You've been out there at Texans training camp, especially for these joint practices against the Dolphins the last 2 days. Are you seeing any signs he can and will learn and improve? And I suppose that's a tough question to answer. Of
course he'll improve. Like it's impossible to not improve. Even like Zach Wilson last year, like he got benched, whatever, but he was better than he was his rookie year. Like these people get better. It's just, do they reach the point where they can be the franchise guy that you want to extend long term?
From beginning of camp to now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, tell me where, like one thing that you've seen that you think he's gotten better at.
Throwing with anticipation. He's gotten better at that. Obviously, he's still a rookie, so there's gonna be moments where he doesn't have it like that. That throwing with that decisiveness, but he's gotten dramatically better from the beginning to now. Like he looks like a completely different quarterback from the beginning of camp to now.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
I'm gonna play some audio for a second because this guy is my favorite person. Damian Pierce. This is a interaction that he had with members of the Houston sports media.
Do you feel like you're being included more in the passing game?
Yes. So that's why I'm losing weight, man. Still got to run all them routes.
Scary.
You helped the playbook, the Bible earlier
Yeah,
in
'cause
the preseason.
Play with this thick dog.
How far are you guys in the New Testament yet with some of that stuff?
Man, listen. Last time I checked, we was on John.
He is my favorite.
Yeah, he's a great quote.
How's he been looking out there? This is his second year. Obviously, we didn't get to see a lot of him down the stretch.
Yeah, no, he looks good. I think what's so much funnier now is that since the Texans last training camp, he was busting a run every single day. Right? This year he's not. But all that told me was he was busting a run every single game, every single practice, because the Texans' run defense was obviously abysmal. So this year he doesn't bust as many long runs because he's going against a much better front, right? Because, again, it's not like Damian Pierce wasn't one of the best running backs last year and the Texans don't have a really good offensive line. They do. And you saw how that translated in practice and you saw how it translated in the game last year. So the fact that now he's not having as much success, that lets you know the front's going to be a lot better in terms of stopping the run.
That's good to hear because it was bad.
Yeah, it was bad. Like, it didn't matter what they did, they couldn't stop a nosebleed.
Who's going to be the biggest, I guess, difference on that run-stopping ability for the Texans? Because, you know, Christian Harris has been making a lot of headlines for starting fights,
right.
which I love.
Yeah.
Will Anderson's there. We know that they brought in Sheldon Rankins and who's the other guy that they brought in on the defensive tackle side of things?
Hassan Ridgeway.
There we go.
Yeah.
So we know those guys are there too. And I mean, that by default should help them beef up the defensive line a bit.
I would say a healthy Grenard, Will, and Rankins are going to be the reason why the run defense is a lot better than last year. Because Grenard is a really good run stopper. It's just he wasn't healthy that much last year, and he was kind of like rotating. It was weird. There was a lot of rotation on the defensive line. And then again, you have Sheldon Rankins, who's like a proven veteran quality starter who can make a lot of things happen. So, yeah, I think regardless, you know, when you add those three pieces and you have more depth, because, again, people get hurt. Like, that's like, shoot. Teron Armstead went down yesterday at practice. Jalen Ramsey got hurt at practice during camp. I mean, Blake Cashman was doing great, and now he's nursing a hamstring injury. Like, injuries are going to happen. Like, no team is going to be completely healthy throughout the year. And that's why the teams that usually make a deep run in the playoffs are usually the more healthy ones. Like, Kansas City is pretty healthy. The Eagles are pretty healthy. And sometimes you just need those breaks. So, yeah, I would say that now the Texans D-line has depth. So when guys do eventually get hurt, like I say Grenard gets hurt again or Will gets hurt, now you can insert Jerry Hughes into that spot and there won't be a dramatic drop-off.
Okay. Well, I like hearing that. One last thing before we get to know you in the next segment. Okay. So if you've been listening to our podcast or following DJ's work, DJ has loved what he's seen out of the Texans secondary
Absolutely.
to this point, whether it's Derek Stingley, Steven Nelson's who's having a great camp, Jalen Petrie, Jimmy Ward now a part of it. And we know what the offensive line is for this team. A lot of money invested into it. Between those two, what have you liked more?
Oh, I've loved the secondary more. One, you know, I have an agenda with my dog, Mike Dugard at The Athletic. We both think of Seattle. Shout out to Mike. He just had a baby, by the way.
Oh,
but, well, he didn't have the baby. His fiance had the baby.
Oh, I was like about to say, like, damn, he's breaking ground.
I think Mike is talented enough to possibly pull that off if he wanted to. Nah, I'm playing. But I think that secondary is going to be phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. I obviously, you know, during joint practices, Tyreek had nobody can guard Tyreek. It is what it is, right? But when Tyreek was off the field, like, it's not like the Dolphins don't have respectable and proven receivers, right? Chosen was out there. That's who Jalen Petrie essentially caught a pick on. Granted, he wasn't guarding Chosen.
Chosen, formerly Robbie Anderson.
He wasn't necessarily guarding him, but he was able to beeline to where Tua was trying to throw the ball to, intercept to take it back to the house. Obviously, Steven Nelson's played extremely well. And then back to the Dolphins. Braxton Berrios is a respected.
He's really good. Yeah.
He's a respect.
I mean, what, for number 4? As number 4 wide receiver?
He's a respected wide receiver in the NFL.
you just hating. You just hating.
He's a
Braxton.
respected receiver in the NFL. So my point is, Tua still had weapons that he could go through, and there were portions of the time where, like especially during a 2-minute drill, where guys were locked up and he had to keep checking it down to Raheem Mostert. So that lets me know that if the Texans secondary is going against a receiving core that doesn't have dynamic weapons, good luck.
Okay. No Jalen Waddle out there, so that made it a little bit easier.
Yeah, of course. But I think, if, let's say, they play week 1 against the Ravens, like, I expect that to be, because it's Derek Stingley, Jalen Petrie, Steven Nelson, Desmond King / Tavia Thomas, Jimmy Ward versus Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, Odell, Rashad Bateman. I expect that to be a draw.
Okay.
I expect that to be a draw.
That's a pretty good group.
And then week 2 against the Colts, I expect the Texans secondary to give them hell. And then against the Jags in week 3, Calvin Ridley, Zay Jones, and Christian Kirks, I expect that to be a draw. That's how high I am on that secondary. And then obviously against the Steelers, I expect them they should win that matchup. Okay. I like George Pickens. I like Johnson, but that's how high I am on the Texans secondary.
How high are you on TikTok? Because I got a Braxton Berrios fun fact for you.
My girlfriend uses TikTok. My mom uses TikTok, sadly. Like, she sent me a bunch of TikToks of my...
Oh, your mom sending you TikToks?
Of my cousin, who's legally my sister. Like,
okay.
Yeah, it was, and we were chatting about some of the stuff that she was posting. It was quite hilarious.
Okay. Did you know that Braxton Berrios was dating TikTok star Alex Earl?
No, I did not know that.
Good for him.
I don't pay attention to celebrities.
Oh, I'm DJ. I'm above all that.
No, I'm not above all that. I just don't care.
Okay, I want to get to know you a little bit better. I want the people to get to know you a little bit better. So we're going to ask you questions every single week. But let's start off with just the first one, and it has to do with the Houston Texans at training camp. Mm-hmm. What one Texan has impressed you the most at camp thus far? Oh,
okay. So the way I'm going based off of who's impressed me is based off what I thought going into camp and then what they've done since, right? So I can't say anybody from the secondary because I already thought they're going to be really good, right? So I have to say it's Christian Harris. Not that I thought Christian Harris was a bummer or anything like that. I thought, he was still a work in progress. But at camp, he looks like a legitimate NFL starter.
He was the most fun development of the second half of the year for the Texans, which was very tough to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. He had that pick against the Tennessee Titans on Malik Willis to basically ice that game.
Oh, that game.
And that game was so cold. It was so cold that weekend, man. It was so cold. It was like it's bad when you open your phone and you check the weather app and you see a single digit number.
That's weird.
Yeah,
I didn't know it got that cold in Nashville.
It was like a cold front. Everybody was dealing with it. Yeah. So.
Boy. Okay. Number 2. So you're from South Florida. Are Dolphins fans real?
What? Absolutely. Okay, so
because Miami has a bad rap as a sports town.
So as a sports town, Miami is like Houston. They're fair weather.
Ooh.
So I
don't disagree.
You say you disagree?
I don't disagree.
Oh yeah, because it's all right. If I live in Houston or Miami, there's so much for me to do. If the team stinks, why am I showing up?
Fair enough.
You feel me? And another thing about the Miami Heat thing. The reason why fans get in there late is because there's one road to get into the stadium, in the arena. So it's hard to get into the arena and hard to park. If you go to Madison Square Garden, right outside of MSG, there's 6 driving lanes to get right inside the stadium. There's one for the Miami Heat arena. That's why it's hard for fans to get in.
Oh, a legitimate excuse.
Yeah, that's a legitimate
it's a choke
excuse.
Point.
Yeah,
what's the excuse for leaving early before Ray Allen's?
Because it's hard to get. Oh, that's well. Listen. So back in 2013, when I was watching that game in JUCO with 4 of my other high school teammates who also came out with me there.
Yeah.
And one of them, Christian Staples, shout out to Christian Staples, he went inside into his dorm. And then me, DeWarren, Jalen, we all ran to his room. Yo, we going to overtime. We going to overtime. He was like, what? We went out. And obviously we watched the game, and obviously, it was good times.
Okay. Did you know, DJ, you know the Miami Dolphins fight song, right?
Right.
Put the headphones back on. This is the Miami Dolphins fight song for those who don't know. Honestly, as far as NFL fight songs go, these headphones are terrible. Just bear with us. We're a very professional operation here. This is the Miami Dolphins fight song. Bang.
Miami has the Dolphins, the greatest football team. We take the ball,
I mean, I hate
goal to
I love
goal
it.
like no one's ever seen.
We're in the air. We're on the ground. We're always in control.
Sir.
When we're saying Miami.
You're talking
Super Bowl. Not really,
We're
though.
the
Miami.
Do it.
Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins #1.
Okay, so the South Florida's coming out here. But here's the problem. Did you know, DJ, that your beloved Dolphins stole this song from Houston the same way the Titans stole the Oilers from Houston?
Look out, football, here we come. Houston Oilers, #1.
It's not the same though.
Oh, it's the same. Here it comes.
Houston has the Oilers, the greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like no
It's my
one's
team.
ever seen.
They're stolen, dude.
All right, so
DJ's face right now. He's like, damn, we should steal that.
hold on.
Are you gonna apologize for the Miami Dolphins?
No.
Oilers are older than the Dolphins. 1960 versus, I don't know when the Dolphins started. I want to say late 60s.
Yes, we're the Houston Oilers.
Okay. He admitted it. Good. That's all we needed. He's very disappointed right
Very
now.
disappointed.
It's a great, but I will say the Dolphins made it better. They did make it better.
Whatever.
I have a quick story about Dolphins fans for you too. So, I feel like that the quiet DJ to my right is an acknowledgement and an apology for the thievery of that song. Do you apologize for the Miami Dolphins fan who back in 2004 at Pro Player Stadium, after I was talking a little bit of trash during a Patriots 13-1 versus Dolphins 1-13 game where the Dolphins won and Tom Brady threw an interception on his ass and I'm still mad about it, the fan threatened to strangle me with my own intestines. Do you apologize for him?
Nope. All that fan was doing was defending the Dolphins' honor.
I love it. All right, question number, I don't know what question this is, whatever.
Yeah, just
Favorite Miami Dolphin ever. And I if you don't say the right guy, I'm going to be a little annoyed with you. And listen, Sean Mapes already said that Ed Reed is better than Barry Sanders today as far as number 20s in NFL history.
Ed Reed. He might have something there.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he might have something there.
That's South Florida. That's just South Florida bias.
Nah,
That's talking.
Ed was different, but so is Barry. To answer the question, the only one name keeps popping up in my head, but I would say it's the number one is probably Brent Grimes, the cornerback.
Brent Grimes?
Yeah, that was my favorite Dolphin.
Brent Grimes?
Yeah, because as I got older and I started,
His wife's more famous than him.
yeah, Brent Grimes was special though. It was just like
Nico Grimes, right?
yeah, Vigo Grimes. Brent because like that was
Not Jason Taylor?
no.
What?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but like you gotta remember, I'm 28 years old, so like I started watching.
Fair enough. God, these youths on this show.
I mean, you're like 47. But
Oh my God, I'm 34.
okay, when you hit 34, what's the difference between 34 and 47? No difference. But
I hate you so much right now.
but check it though. So so I started watching them in like 04, right? Like when I could like understand what was going on was 04, right? Okay. So obviously Jason was great. Like I remember him in 06 where he won Defensive Player of the Year, where he basically the Dolphins were like they were winless and then they beat the Chicago Bears because Jason Taylor took over that game. Special player. You know what I'm saying? But you said my favorite, right?
Okay.
So
Brent Grimes.
At that time, I was 12 when actually 11 when Jason, was had that great year, whatever. But when I really could understand football, Brent Grimes, when he got to the Dolphins, was just so special.
Okay.
And I just enjoyed the fact that it was a 5'10" guy that could one-hand intercept Calvin Johnson in the end zone.
That's pretty impressive. Jason Taylor terrorized Tom Brady.
Yeah, no. Jason was special. Jason, he's a Hall of Famer, But just who's my favorite?
Fair enough. Now,
if you ask me who's the best Dolphin of all time,
you're
Jason
wrong,
Taylor's up
but
there.
fair enough. Okay.
He's up there,
You know what? As long as you don't say, you know what's funny? My mom hated Dan Marino when I was growing up.
Yeah, he was great.
But my mom hated Dan Marino because he would cuss and they would zoom in on him on television. And she thinks that I learned cusses from Dan Marino.
You probably did.
I definitely did. It's not a probably. What is he saying, Mon? What does the F word mean? I've never been glared at more than when I asked my mom what the F word means. All right, one last question. I came out as identifying from Miami this week because I mean, look at this drip.
Oh God, you just made me vomit.
It's a good shirt. It's a good shirt.
That was disgusting.
Okay, fine. look, I went to high school in like Western Florida, Gulf Coast, Florida. But what's the one thing that everybody in South Florida, the one thing needs to know? Like if you're from that area, what do you know that nobody else does? I know it's a very big,
loaded question.
Yeah.
That nobody else knows.
You got to pick one, and it can't be like, "Hey, watch out for gators on the little highway that goes across them."
All right, the one that that everybody needs to know. All right, boom. So you have Miami-Dade County.
Yep.
So that's encompassing of like South Beach, North Miami, Miami Gardens, Homestead, But like South Beach is, most South Floridians would not consider that they consider that Miami, but they don't. In the sense that most people from South Florida do not kick it on South Beach.
That's interesting.
Yeah, nah.
So
Because
it's sort of like the French Quarter in New Orleans, I'm guessing.
yeah, because like you have to, like, if you live, let's say in Miami Gardens, right by the Dolphin Stadium, you have to hop on either Turnpike or you have to hop on 826 or 828, and then you have to get onto I-95 eventually, and then take that all the way down.
Okay.
Yeah, all the way down. Yeah, and then like head towards Miami Beach, and then take that all the way down. Like, it's just out of the way. You know what I mean? So like most people that live in South Florida don't actually kick it on South Beach.
That is an interesting thing to learn.
Yeah,
We did learn
but I'll
something
say
today.
this though.
Do you like South Beach?
Yeah, but I'm not the guy that's gonna be on Twitter like, South Beach is not Miami. Well, I don't care. Like, what? Like, who cares? You feel me? That's not that deep. Like, it's just a location. You feel me? Like, you know, like there's people that are like, stop saying South Beach is Miami. Well, it kind of is, but like it's in Miami-Dade County, but my South Beach is like its own city in Miami-Dade County. But like, let people have fun. It is what it is. Like, when people travel into South Florida and they want to go to Miami and they want to go to South Beach, they're gonna say they went to South Beach and they went to Miami. Like, it's okay. Let people have fun.
DJ, this has been fun. See you tomorrow at NRG Stadium. We got to talk
Are you going
Texans
to the game?
podcast. I'll be there. I'll be there.
Nice.
Finally,
Nice.
finally showing up for work. I haven't gone to one practice. I haven't gone to one game.